is calling, but you need healing now for all good reasons. The change is coming. Well, change is coming for all good.
Internet gaming is going to come to the United States. Now, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to come to all 50 states. But I don't have to worry about all 50 states. I have to worry about the states that we compete with, particularly for casino traffic, which is roughly New Jersey through Maine, through eastern Pennsylvania and New York State, right? And if it comes to any one of those places, and as it clearly is going to, because it's going to come to New Jersey, they passed it last year. The governor said he's going to sign it this year. We vetoed it last year. And if it's at all tied to the success of their casinos, then the shot is fired. So I think all of our discussions are about being ready, what's going to happen in our region. And we haven't reached conclusions, but you asked a question. They're very different discussions post that change in position of the Justice Department on the use of wires. So they're pretty broad, they're pretty far-ranging, they are inclusive in nature, that is all possibilities. You know, what are we talking about? Including, you know, some things that we've talked about in the past, whether we should have Keno, whether we should have online purchase of lottery tickets, which I actually do support just for convenience purposes. If I want to buy a year's worth of lotto numbers and lock in my numbers now and do it electronically, why shouldn't I be able to? To what happens to the casinos if online comes and it's tied to the success of other states, and how do we use the 3 years between now and or 2 to 3 years, maybe it's 2 to 4 years between now and Massachusetts getting up and running with their 5 casinos? How do we strengthen our destinations? And I do think we have some built-in strengths, which are not likely to be replicated in the short term. We have 2 fully developed casino complexes with lots of hotel rooms, lots of convention space, lots of other entertainment space. That's unlikely to be replicated in the near term in Massachusetts. So how do we build on the strength of those facilities? How do we encourage more activity? Another question that's come up, we have a limit on free play, promotions of about 5%. New York is, I think, going to be at 11%. I think Massachusetts is going to be at 10%, or may have those backwards. New Jersey's already in that area. We've got to take a look at that because we've got to get these things as healthy and as strong as they possibly can be, and get patterns of usage established before Massachusetts comes on. So these are comprehensive discussions, but I don't have anything to report to you. I'm just telling you some of the issues that we're talking about.
Would you characterize them as more playing defensively or offensively?
I think they're both. I think that's a fair question, and I think they're both. We certainly want to play offensively in making sure that the customers of the casinos see this as the premier casino and destination. And we certainly want to play offense with building those facilities, convention trade show trade, all of that sort of stuff, because that's the built-in strength there, right? How do we play off of that? I mean, you might call it defense, I suppose, because maybe the advent of we had it easy for a long time, and we didn't have the competition, and so other governors found it very politically convenient just to ignore the tribes. You do what you do, send the check, we don't have to be involved, and we have, you can't say I'm for or against gaming. Those days are over. This one's paid us $400 million, it's paying us about $350 million in direct revenue, lots of indirect revenue by the thousands of people who are employed directly and indirectly. How do we protect that investment? That's what I'm working on. I'm not a gambler in the sense, I'm not a gaming proponent.
But an offensive strategy would kind of imply expansion, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think there's, if you're talking about expansion of more casinos, no, I don't think we're talking about more gaming opportunities. Certainly is something that we can and should look at. I think in some senses the free play rules is an offensive look. you know.
Do the compacts have to be renegotiated to allow online gaming?
Sure. Sure.
Are there active and ongoing discussions with the two tribes?
Yes. Yes, we're you know, tribes, the lottery, everybody. We're all trying to figure this out together.
Is the assumption they would be the ones operating the online?
I don't think there's any assumption. You know, I think that there are sufficient questions around that issue. Who's got the authority? So I think that's an issue. I think the advisability of competing with the casinos is, or the wisdom or lack of wisdom of doing that is certainly one of the issues that we have to take into consideration. Listen, we have two highly successful organizations running gaming in our state. Actually, three. The lottery does a good job as well. So they all have to be at the table, and we've got to figure this thing out. And we're working on it, and have been working on it. But it took on a whole different dimension the Friday before Christmas. There's no doubt about it.
Action this legislative session potentially?
I hope so.
Yeah, we hope so.
Whatever we're going to do, we should do. Yeah. I mean, New Jersey's going to pass it in a matter of weeks. And to explain it further, let's assume New Jersey gets in the business or permits it and allows their casinos to operate. And all of a sudden, they're operating online gaming, and they're giving points or incentives to use their casinos. And if we're not looking at what our options are, we're
Flat-footed.
correct. Governor Cuomo's already announced that on top of the electronic machines that he has in Yonkers and at Aqueduct, he actually wants Aqueduct to be a full-service casino with hotel rooms. If I'm not mindful of that, you know, I'm not doing the job you hired me to do. And if I'm not being mindful of what's going on in Massachusetts with 3 full-service casinos on the board, plus 2 electronic game racecinos or whatever you want to call them, you know, I'm not doing my job. So obviously I got to be working. You know, this is not a one-dimensional job I have. This is not you send people out, they give you reports, and you decide what you do. I got to be involved in this stuff.